We will call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Orion Township Zoning Board of Appeals scheduled for this time at this date, March 11th. Please call the roll.
Mike Flood?
Here.
Brad Walker?
Here.
Tony Cook?
Here.
Dan Earl?
Here. Thank you. Next, we have minutes, the minute review of our last meeting, which was the 22nd of January, and Mr. Cook has already spotted something. Please.
Mr. Chairman, it's item 1 on page 1 of the previous minutes. It says that it should be your name, not mine. So,
Okay. So noted.
You don't want credit for that, Mr. Cook, is that correct?
I saw that too, and I'm like, you know what said I was here? It's got to be me, but anyway. Do we have anything additional?
no, sir.
Seeing nothing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the January 22nd ZBA meeting as amended.
Thank you. We have motion on the floor with support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. We'll keep moving. We have 4 cases tonight under agenda review and approval. Does the board members have any concerns or questions or motions about that?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you. We have motion on the floor with support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We'll be ready. Now, we're short a board member, so to be successful, 3 out of 4 will be required for anybody that's presenting tonight. First case, AB 2024-05, Brian Kishnick from Macomb Clinton Realty LLC, 1455 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 09-251-019. Applicant is seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 153. Try it again. 3 variances from sign ordinance 153, non-residential ground signs zoned RB. Number 1 is a 20.8 square foot size variance above the allowed 32 square feet for a ground sign to be 52.80 square feet. Number 2 is a 2.67 foot height variance from the allowed 8 feet for a ground sign to be 10.67 feet tall. And number 3 is a 10-foot road right-of-way setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 10 feet from the road right-of-way. And they are seeking 1 variance from zoning ordinance 78, Article 6, or 11, Section 11.04. Number 4 is a 10-foot front yard setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 10 feet from the front property line. Sir, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Brian Kishnick, and I represent Macomb Clinton Realty.
Explain to us, if you would, please, what you need and why you need it, and we'll move on.
First of all, I want to say the staff at Orion Township has been excellent to work with going through this process, and Lynn also in the planning and zoning. So we've worked with fire, building, and I want to recognize their efforts in working with us. The owners are here tonight, and you'll hear from them in brief, who is Dr. Othman Kadre and Dr. Bassam Kadre, who bought this building at 1455 South Lapeer Road in May of 2022. And they are local owners in Oakland County residents. So and I manage the property for them. And we work together as a team, investing in this building, and they've made a lot of investments already in outdoor and indoor lighting and carpeting and many upgrades to bring that building up to a very high-class medical facility, as you probably know, as the Beaumont Building, soon to be Corewell Health. One of the issues, though, and why we're here tonight for the sign variances, is it's a multi-tenant building. There's 28 tenants in that facility, and Corewell Health is just one, taking up 25%. There's 75%, and we put this in the packet. I'm sure you've read it, so I don't want to go into great detail. I just want to hit a few of the highlights. But being a multi-tenant facility with 1 sign for 350 feet and 6 acres for 28 different rentable spaces, it creates a lot of issues, and the Corewell Health is the main sign. And what we're proposing to do through the variance process with the ZBA is to utilize the existing sign, and you have a copy of that in your packet, and simply add the EMC at the bottom, the scrolling electronic messaging. And if I could approach Your Honor, or,
Please. Not quite that fancy, but come on up.
Are you an attorney by a stretch of the imagination? Okay.
So what you have before you is a before on the right-hand side and after what we're proposing on the left-hand side, which creates the variance. We're proposing to do the EMC at the bottom, and it requires the square footages to be increased, or it's already increased, but the square footages to receive a variance from your ordinance, the height to receive a variance, and the setback. And I'll go over those in a second, but just so you have the before and after of what we're proposing to do at the existing location. Yeah, whoever put the building official put that up there, excellent. So that's what we're proposing. And, one of the major things is we're talking about, we will put the new address number on there as well. So, but to back up, the problem we have is with a multi-tenant facility and 85,000 square feet on six acres with 350 feet of frontage, it's very, very difficult to even see this sign, right? And it's one-dimensional with Corewell Health to utilize the electronic message board scrolling at the bottom. We want to add the other multi-tenants onto that scrolling message board. And it's very important from a safety standpoint, from a health standpoint, and from the welfare standpoint that you guys have in your requirements to meet this for your ordinance. And Dr. Bassam Kadri will go into the practical difficulties and the undue hardship, and that it's not self-created, and I'll come back and discuss that as well. But to go through the variance process, the variances, I'm sorry, it's a 10-foot, it's 20 feet from the property line setback. For us to do that, if you could go down one, for us to meet that, the sign would literally be in the parking lot. So that is why we're asking for a 10-foot variance from the 20. So it's 10 feet setback now, and it's required to be 20, and we want to keep the sign in place and not move it because 10 feet, it'd go back into the parking lot, if that makes sense. And there's two variances on that subject. One is the sign ordinance, and the other is your zoning ordinance. That's why you have the number 1 and number 4. I'm sorry, number 3 and number 4. So that's the setback, the 10-foot setback. Then we're asking for the 20.8 square foot variance for the sign, and that's to allow for the 52.8 square feet for the total signage. You allow 32, we're asking for 52.8 because the EMC takes up 15.78 square footage and the sign takes up 37 for a total of 52.8. And the variance being 20.8 from the 32 square feet. And that's, again, using the existing sign, not doing anything but adding the EMC. We had a non-conforming sign before. That's why we're here, using the existing sign, and that's what these variances are for. The EMC doesn't even require the variance. We meet the percentage, less than 30%. So then the height variance, it's 10 feet 8 inches, allowed at 8 feet, so we're asking for the 2+ foot variance on the height to just keep this existing sign for all the reasons that we're going to talk about. So again, we have a lot of a lot going on here in terms of variances, but it's a multi-tenant facility. It's an existing sign in place using the EMC to provide the recognition for all the other tenants in the facility, and using the existing sign which creates these variance requests. And that's what we have before you today. And Dr. Bassam is going to talk about why we're asking for these variances and the different difficulties that we have.
Let me ask you one question
Yes,
before
sir.
you slip away. In your opinion, the electronic message board that's going to be there, there's so many other tenants that have not previously been, say, advertised, wrong word, but let's say advertised. My doctor's been in that building for 15 years, and other than a x-ray lab that I believe might have been attached to Beaumont back when, I'm not aware of who else is in there, and I've been in that building many times. Is that ECM going to be big enough to scroll in a way so that people going by are going to be able to understand and register what they're seeing on it, in your opinion?
In our opinion, it will be, it could, it could always be bigger, right?
Careful what you ask for.
Be careful, right? So I just want to put that right out there. But that is our goal, is to use that to get Bald Mountain behavior, LNS pharmacy, whoever your doctor is. There's many others in there, the oncology doctors and the ophthalmology, the North Point. So,
Blood lab,
pardon me?
and the blood lab.
Blood lab is a Corewell Health, so, it would be the Corewell Health logo and blood
I'm
lab.
unfortunately very familiar with that blood lab.
Yeah, I think everybody is, because the halls are jammed in there for the blood lab.
Sometimes, yeah.
And it's, and so is Dr. Sarnecki, and so is Bald Mountain Behavioral. SG Pediatrics, that's another one. So yes, we think it could always be bigger, but we want to at least alert them to that, and then there will be new wayfinding sign inside the building. When you walk in the lobby, as you're probably aware, it's a little bit confusing as where to go, and that's an ongoing project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. To avoid being overly redundant with Brian, I think he did a great, incredible job. But the net is pretty obvious. The ask is essentially to maintain the current sign and add the EMC sign. Your question is extremely valid about awareness. And it's, over the last 15 years, the community has grown. And that's probably the reason why we're here. So I wanted to explain why, to follow up on him, why this is so important. In terms of medical specialties, per se, what we have there and what the community has there is extremely valuable. It's very rare to have a multi-specialty clinic servicing a community this size with the level of expertise, not just as generalists, but also as specialists. And unfortunately, due to limited signage, the lack of awareness to the community, not just for patients who've been going there for over a decade, but for all the new patients who may need the services, they are simply not aware. It's a very fast road. It's an extremely busy road. It's 55 miles an hour. Most patients who are going there are sick. They may be elderly. There's physical therapy. The response times are going to be a little bit limited. If you miss the entrance driving north, you're going to have to do 2 U-turns. So there's a risk for an accident getting rear-ended, and then you have to now cross the lane if you miss it and do 2 extra U-turns. So it's a serious issue that I've experienced, a lot of people have experienced when we sort of assess this problem. Another thing is, keep in mind, this was 5 lots consolidated into one. And the reason why you need that much space is because it's an 85,000 square foot building, yet we are now, because by virtue of that, we are now constrained to 1 lot. And unlike a restaurant or a single entertainment facility where you have just 1 sign representing everybody inside the building, we have over 28 tenants and only 1 that's visible to the public. So we are investing a lot. We want more. We want more to support the community. We are local. We're not some private equity firm in New York trying to just see what we could get out of it. We really do care. And we want to bring the best specialists to support the community. Now, to answer some of the other questions you have asked is, will this explain in terms of public health safety and the welfare? Well, I would say, number one, in addition to traffic safety, just public health about providing the extra services is a huge asset to the community, increases awareness, and it addresses the safety issues that I talked about driving. Second question you've asked about how to make this consistent or not consistent with other buildings in the area. Well, we're definitely adding a number to the sign, which will hopefully help a lot of people. But the EMC is going to be scrolling changeable signage for all the tenants there, and hopefully we could get more tenants. And we really don't have, your question made me, I laughed, because we are constrained within the various constraints, but if we could provide even more signage, we'd be happy to. And then these natural, the challenges that we were faced were not self-imposed. They are a reaction to the reality of the circumstances of which we are in. Again, the patient population is unique, the response times are unique, the speed of the road is not something that we created. And one thing that's hard to appreciate sitting here, but unless you're driving on the road, if you're driving north on Lapeer Road and past Stadium, it's an uphill drive. And the angle, the line of sight, it's actually hard to see even the sign, despite the fact that it's this high. So contextualizing that in part of your decision is something that we definitely want you to take into consideration. And with that, I just want to summarize, and say, look, we're very appreciative. We really do care about the community. We want to do whatever we can to support all the people who have supported us, and we definitely want to invest more. So thank you. And with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Oh, Dr. Kadri here wants to say just a couple words. That's okay.
Sir, could you put the aerial photo that you just had up there, please?
Thank you very much. I'm not going to make speech for election, but seriously, we appreciate and we love this to come to this community from the beginning. Honestly, they summarize. Don't ask me the variances because I'm not to know, but I'm asking in reality what's happening to me when I came to see the building to buy, to acquire it. I missed that exit twice. This is facts. And I went to even pass almost to downtown to make U-turn. This is the reality, especially with heavier traffic. So if somebody come from different area, I was very wary when I was concerned. Then we thought maybe we could resolve these issues. And of course, if the person like your Mr. Chairman in the building, of course, you know the building in your home, you don't need sign. But if somebody comes from different area, you need. And beside this, beside the curve, and look how it is, I think the question about wording, I agree. But in the same time, when you drive fast, if you find some flashing lights, would get your attention. This is the building. Even you don't see the word, I think the scrolling, it will help. So we try, let's put it this way, we try very hard, as much as we can, to improve the building from inside and outside. And one thing is major thing to us, we feel, is the signage situation. We changed the carpet, even we love your colors, we wish, and we tried to paint it to improve. Unfortunately, we did not have luck to bring more new tenants. We try very hard, and we try to fill it to make it the best in Oakland County, and I mean it. I practiced before, I'm a retired physician, and I love this area. And this is why I encouraged my son one time to establish practice here. Hopefully he will do, and some other, because the area is great, the people nice, growing tremendously, and we love to improve it. So we need all your help as much as we can with this, of course, with the law and the requirement. I don't like to talk it. There's honestly, I took me, after we acquired it to 2022, my daughter, she is creative artist. I told her, please, nobody knows this conversation except me and herself. Now she in the hand of God. I told her, please make this building to me the best in Oakland County. Unfortunately, 2 weeks after she picked up the carpet, she has car accident and she died with her husband. And that's what make me few months to come back just to do something. I'm not talking emotional to make sympathy, but the reality, and because I told her, please make it the best in Oakland County, because I believe in location, I believe in the improvement, but unfortunately, they got choose her with her husband, left four orphans, and now we coming back after her. We use the carpet what she chose, and hopefully we'll put new signs and we'll go, and with the and life will go through with your help and everybody's help. And thank you so much for your time and for your convenience. If you have any question to me, he knows the answer, but I could tell you anything I know.
Doesn't appear so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's ask the first gentleman to come back up for just a minute. Board members, do you have anything for this young man?
I just got a
Yes, sir.
couple comments here, going, reviewing all the information here, that I like the idea that you're gonna put this sign exactly where the other sign was.
Yes.
My understanding, reading the minutes from 2005, Planning Commission gave you approval, but to meet today's standards, now you gotta meet today's sign ordinance standards, so you gotta, making any correction to considered a non-conforming sign now.
Pre-existing non-conforming,
Yes,
correct.
so now you're trying to bring it in specs. And I know we're trying to update things now with technology, and the EMC signs are the way they're going nowadays. We went through this a lot when we redid the sign orders here a few years ago. Yeah, I have no problem with this.
Chairman? Sir, just to clarify, there is a, page 37 of your submission. It says that the sign will have a black background, will not flash, be animated, or continuously moving. It's from Phillips Lighting, I should say.
Yes.
Second to last page. Just want to make sure that that's still part of what you're requesting. That
It is in your,
these conditions.
yeah, your EMC ground signs, the non-residential zone, all these ground sign, all these issues here, we have submitted
Right.
to the planning department in compliance. They made us do that prior to coming before you.
Right, and so I'm just saying that this sheet of paper here,
Yes,
that's,
the paper.
okay. Just only because one of the doctors mentioned flashing. And so, okay, all right.
Yes, understood.
So it will not flash. Yes, sir. Gotcha. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, yep, thank you.
You are correct. That's the submission.
Okay, the only thing that I would say is, as I mentioned earlier, I've been going to that location for a long time, and I am not a fan of message signs. I'm just not, but they're here, they're legal, and they can be used. But in this particular case, as the gentleman spoke of, you're going uphill on a fast road, and it's almost always busy, and the signs are different, but only kind of different. And having something different to look at and zone in on will give, I can only speak for myself, it will give me the extra little bit of warning that, yeah, that's where you need to go, where I believe it will be better for people moving up the road and in and out of that building. So I personally see it as an improvement. And as Mr. Flood said, with it being in the same tracks as the other one, you seem to be making improvements and only using minimal variances to do it.
Yes, sir, just like you have on the screen.
And for the board members, before we consider a motion, I believe the motions have been simplified dramatically, but the forms seem to be the same. So you gentlemen probably are aware what fell off and what doesn't need to be included. But I was just reading through the forms, and I'm like, wait, all those things are still in there. If I'd have thought of it, I'd have brought it up before we called the meeting, but just so everybody's aware, it doesn't need to be probably quite as wordy as it did in the past.
I think you're referring to the, further based on the following findings, that whole,
Here and, you know, that
yep,
kind of
yep,
stuff.
yep. Just the, 4.
Yeah, but your board pushed that through and approved it. You'd be probably better than all of us able to know what fell off.
That's what fell off, is that last page.
Okay,
All
well,
that.
good. Now we all know.
I was thinking the same thing before the meeting started, but I said, well,
Okay. Well, if we have nothing additional for this gentleman, if somebody's considering a motion,
Perhaps the public might have a comment?
thank you so much. Did anyone come to this meeting tonight solely to speak on this matter? Seeing none, thank you. That is something I'm supposed to remember to ask, but Mr. Walker pulled me out. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Ms. Flood,
In the matter of ZBA case AB 2024-05, Brian Kirschnick for Macomb Clinton Realty LLC, 1455 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell number 09-14-215-019. I move that petitioner's request for 3 variances from sign ordinance number 53, non-residential ground signs, zone RB. Number 1, a 20.8 square foot size variance above the allowed 32 square feet for a ground sign to be 52.80 square feet. Number 2, a 2.67 foot height variance from the allowed 8 foot for a ground sign to be 10.67 feet tall. Number 3, a 10-foot road right-of-way setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 10 feet from the road right-of-way. And seeking 1 variance from zoning ordinance number 78, Article 11, Section 11.04, a 10-foot front yard setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 10 feet from the front property line to be granted for plans date stamped received January 26, 2024, because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and they set forth facts which show that in this case, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulty. Number 1, it would be the location on M20 Lapeer Road there with a speed limit of 55 miles an hour and is on a hill, as the applicant stated, for visibility. Number 2, it has a multi-tenants of 28, and they'd like to have the new electronic message board where they can scroll, which meets the sign ordinance. They'll have to abide by that. So they can identify the various tenants in that building. And another one, which is dear to my heart, is that they're going to put the address on the sign. The following are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved and not generally apply to other properties. This is an older existing building, and in 2005, the Planning Commission did approve this sign, but to today's standards, because they're going to remodify the sign in the existing same spot, they are considering a non-conforming, and this will bring them into conformance. The variance is necessary for preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone or vicinity based on the following findings of fact, that these multi-tenant buildings are required to have signage out front for the safety of the public on the roadways, and it's more of a safety factor. They missed a sign, then they have to turn around and come back, or it could cause a terrible accident, but not in that 55-mile-an-hour zone. The granting of the variances or modifications will not be materially detrimental to the public or welfare, material interest of the property or improvements in such zone or district in which the property is based on the following findings of facts, which I just stated about the safety factor, and will not be materially detrimental to the public being in this business zone. That's my motion.
I'll support the motion, Mr. Flood. If we could just add one more additional thing to it, is that it is a single entrance building?
I amend my motion to include that.
Yes, sir. For vehicle traffic, yep.
Good point.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Flood, supported by Mr. Cook, with an amendment that has been accepted. Do we have anything additional by the remainder of the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
John Walker,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Merrill.
Yes. Your request passes. You're good to go. Good luck, gentlemen, and welcome to the community. Next up, we have Ryan Schultz, AB 2024-06 at 800 Harry Paul. Our case number is 2024-06. The Sidwell is 09-11-379-090. Applicant is seeking 4 variances from zoning ordinance 78. R3, Article 27, Section 27.05, H2. Number 1 is a 10-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 10-foot for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the west. 2, an 8-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the south. Number 3 is an 8-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence section to connect from the house ending 0 feet from the property line to the north. And number 4, an 8-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the intersection of the west and north property lines. Introduce yourself, please, and explain what's going on.
My name is Ryan Schultz, and I am one of 2 owners of 800 Harry Paul Drive.
Can you get a little closer to the mic, sir, please, or pull it towards you?
Now you can
Yep.
tip it. There you
Yep,
go.
thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, sir,
All right. Name and everything?
please, just for the record, yeah.
My name is Ryan Schultz, and I'm one of 2 owners for 800 Harry Paul Drive. The other owner is Tyler Wright. He's sitting in the audience. So I'm here to request this permit because I think the last time I was here, some of you may remember it was a little more exciting. My neighbor had requested a 6-foot fence down the front of our yard, and I protested that. She was denied her permit. She took that a little personally and called enforcement on the fence that she requested that I build. I have learned a very valuable lesson to not be so naive next time on taking people's word for something they want. So I'm here.
May I interrupt
How's
you
that?
for one moment?
Yep.
I was going to anyway. I noticed the neighbor had called enforcement. What was the real or imagined concern that the neighbor expressed to enforcement, and what level enforcement did she call?
You will give me one moment. I can actually pull up that email.
Please.
But in short, I do believe it was just that she paid $250 for a fence, and that was her protest. But let me just,
Okay.
there's quite a bit, so I apologize.
Well, if you'll run across it in your travels, we'll just hit it when you hit it.
Yep.
I interrupted you. You were making your presentation.
Oh, you're good. So she had called enforcement, and I had planned on doing the fence this year anyway. I didn't do it the previous years in full because we had other things that had happened to the house. We had a tree at the house. We had several things that just needed to be taken care of before because the house was going to become derelict. So I had been putting a lot of money into other things, just not fencing. She had requested her permit, which I did not protest. I was in favor of when she got her initial 6-foot fence done in the backyard. And when she had done that, she had wrote me a letter, which I have as well if you would like to read that, stating that I needed to remove my gate from the intersection of where that fence was. So I appeased her by doing so, and I asked her if I could just run to my house to match her fence, if she was fine with that. She had told me yes. And that is where I'm learning my lesson to not take people's just word. satisfaction. Sorry, it's gonna bug me, I know it's here. But anyway, the initial reason I'm asking for this fence isn't so much privacy. The design of the fence will be a very open fence. The spacing will be not close together. It'll be almost 2 to 3 inches apart. And it'll be topped with lattice and not like just solid wood, 6 feet tall, to allow sunlight into the yard. That way I can still plant things along the fence and have it get sunlight. The purpose of the fence is so that I can keep my dogs in the yard, because one of our dogs loves to chase squirrels. And squirrels love to climb all over the 6-foot fence that is between my north neighbor and I. And where that gate used to be, where I'd put that fence, he can actually hop that. So with the way the grade goes, it's not so much that he has the escapability going uphill, it's when the grade slopes down towards the road, that fencing, anything that's less than 5 feet, 6 feet, he can climb over. He just recently escaped as well, and we were able to wrangle him up. I can multitask, I apologize, I can find this if you have questions.
Keep going with your
There's
presentation.
just so many.
You've got quite a ways to travel, you might just well keep moving.
Yep.
Mr. Cook had to step out, so if you've got some downtime while he's out of the room, that won't be a bad thing. Anything we can help you with?
No, I thought I had it to the front of this, but I did
It's
not,
okay.
so I apologize.
It's a small piece of a large puzzle. Don't worry about it.
So the only reason I know that is because of all the issues where she reports to the township or calls the police, or all these other things. And so we have to do FOIA requests to even understand why she's calling any of these people. So within these emails, she states that she just didn't find it fair that she had to pay $250 to get her permit, and I did not. And I think that's a fair concern. I don't think that's unreasonable, so.
Yeah, I might interrupt the petitioner for a moment.
Mr. Walker,
I'm not quite sure why you're here, Ryan. Why are you here? What do you want from us?
I want to replace all of my chain linking fence with,
You want to erect a 6-foot fence on the property line pretty much all the way around the house,
correct,
in a nutshell.
yes,
Okay.
yep.
And as my memory is, although I'm old and forgetful, that's kind of what your neighbor wanted to do, kind of, sort of. Is that correct?
I have no problem with her doing 6-foot fencing all the way around her fence, or all the way around her backyard. I do not.
And don't let me put words in your mouth, but did I hear you say your main issue is your dog's escaping?
Correct. My biggest issue is my dogs being able to escape. So they were able to escape through where the fence was when it was initially a 4-foot chain link. I had to bind the gate together against a post so it wouldn't swing open after she had done the north side fence. So that is where they were able to escape through or jump over.
Okay, you were here last time. Most of us, probably all of us were here last time. We have history with this. To get back towards Mr. Walker's point, if you can, tell us what is different about the request you're making from the request that your neighbor made?
Is I'm doing a 6-foot or any fencing, 4-foot, 6-foot, regardless of this outcome. I'm replacing the fencing with an enclosed lot. She wanted a 6-foot fence through the center of the front yard, which didn't offer any kind of enclosure. You can just go around it. It didn't offer anything other than just straight through. I didn't find that beneficial to anyone. She didn't want to explain why she needed it. She just wanted to throw up a fence that already exists there as a 4-foot fence. And she just wanted to add 2 feet to it. She didn't say that she wanted to add lattice to it. I would have been fine with lattice if she brought that up. She didn't bring that up. She doesn't communicate any of that with us. So I have to assume it's like the rest of her fencing where it's just board to board, 6-foot, can't see through it, fencing, which there's already fencing there.
By the look of the neighborhood, we still got a hot neighborhood dispute going on. Am I correct, or partially, or?
It's been quiet since I cut bushes down and now she doesn't have anything to call about, so. I'm just trying to make everything matching to everyone else around me and keeping my dogs in.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
You said earlier that it was to keep your dogs in, and when she erected her fence, it created an opening that you then had to bind on the existing 4-foot chain link fence, correct?
So yes, when she initially did her fence, the 6-foot fence in back,
Okay.
there was a gap where that post was,
Right,
where you would lock your fence to.
Correct.
And remove that completely. So I didn't have anything to bind to. I didn't have any way to lock the fence or gate.
right.
So I had to create something to bind it to, and it wasn't able to open or close. So that's why I had communicated with her when she was outside, asking if I could just do matching fencing up to my house if it would be a problem with her.
Okay, but
Sorry.
going back to the 4-foot fence, so when you did that, the dogs were secure, correct?
They could climb up on it.
Correct.
We have 2 dogs.
Right,
The first Archer, one of our dogs, escaped the first time, which is why I had asked.
through the opening, right? Okay. So once you got that closed, the dogs are okay, right?
Archer was, yes.
Okay, well, give me the rest of it.
Our second dog is able to hop the fence.
Okay,
So that's why I'm trying to keep him in. He's able to hop the side fence, and I've been able to kind of deter him from that by putting up
Training?
other things.
okay. So my point, have they escaped the fences?
So I think, let me clarify.
Yes or no? Have they escaped the fence?
Yes, they have.
Okay, so did you get anything, were they picked up by the pound, or what happened there?
We were able to chase them down.
Okay, so you were outside when it occurred?
Not when it occurred, but we were able to chase them down. We let them outside, they hop a fence, we go to let them in, we can't find them in back, and then we scramble to find them.
So you currently have 6-foot off the front of the home, there's existing 6-foot fence there, correct? Okay.
but
And
not all the way back on the side.
just hold on. Yes, is that the case? Okay, then you have, behind that, you have lattice behind the existing fence, right? And that purpose of that is what?
When enforcement told me to take down my fencing, that was my solution to stopping my dog from hopping through that fencing.
Okay, but then you talked about a dispute with the property line and the chain link fence.
Which is, I'm sorry, the chain link fence, so when I removed that fencing, that gate,
Okay?
I had put up the matching fencing that she gave me the okay to put up. And then we had this meeting for her front fencing, and then she called enforcement because she didn't get whatever she wanted out of that.
Okay.
Enforcement told me to take down that fencing. I did. I put up 4-foot slat with 2-foot lattice.
Mm-hmm.
I put the lattice there to stop my dog from hopping over it,
Okay.
because they were able to hop over it before when it was a 4-foot.
This isn't adding up. Okay,
Let me help you
that's okay.
get to where I'm at.
That's okay.
I apologize.
It's not adding up to my brain, so, yeah, it's good. Thank you, sir.
I was looking at the photos here, trying to go along with what Tony was talking about there.
That'd be a good thing. You have these.
Not right in front of me, no. I submitted them for you, sorry.
Because I looked at them, I pulled up in front of the place, and when I saw, and I'm always speaking for myself, when I saw signage posted, the way I'd seen signage posted before, I said, I get out and step into this, I'm gonna regret it. So I didn't get out of the car. I'm going solely off the information that we have here. Now, we have a bunch of black and white pictures, and I don't know what it is I'm seeing. I don't know whose yard I'm in and which way I'm looking. I'm not sure what helped me if I did, but, I mean, I don't know if you can tell from this far away, like this view here.
That's the north side fence,
That is the north side fence. Look, so I'm looking into your neighbor's yard.
my north side neighbor, yep.
Okay. And for purposes of clarity, that's the one where the issue seems to be. Okay. So that's looking towards the north side neighbor. This one here,
So that is directly out, like if you exit the deck, so it's that northwest, that's west.
I'm looking towards the back of your property. Those are your dogs.
Yes.
The one with the saddle on it there is the one that jumps. Okay. Okay. And this house here is on another street.
That is on Allen, yes.
Okay. This one here,
So that is my south side neighbor.
that is down the south side. You put this fence in at some,
That chain link, no, that's been there since we bought it.
I'm looking at the 6-foot.
No, that is not, that was by our neighbors, that's in their yard.
Oh, okay. See, that's why this kind of thing helps. This one, please.
Okay, so that was just to show that every other fencing along is 6 foot. And then it's just this outline of chain link.
I got you. Okay. And you probably heard us tell her before that if other people have 6 foot, we don't know when they put them in, who they put them in with, what the rules were, or who was on the boards at the time. That was past, this is present.
Yep.
Okay. That's about all I've got. I'm still having trouble coming to grips with those whole thing. There's a couple things that I don't understand. One is why you need why anybody, not you, needs a 6-foot fence to keep a dog in. That dog's a runner. You can tell by the breed. You would know. I don't know in a black and white picture. But unless they can vault, unless they can hit a 4-foot on their way over a 6-foot, are you telling me that they can just stand and jump a 6-foot fence?
not on the upside of the property. When the slope is high, they cannot. When they can get enough speed going down the hill, they can jump over the 4 foot.
How many times you had that happen? About,
4, 5,
in how much time?
it's all been in the last like 2 years.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it happens every time.
And it is not germane to why you're here specifically, but I hear you telling me there is not an ongoing boiling issue over there now with neighbors. That's what I hear?
I have not heard anything from her in around 3 or 4 weeks. I haven't heard a peep, and our lawyer just says, no,
Okay, we still have lawyers and we're talking weeks, not months.
it's retainer.
Again, it's,
So it's just,
I'm just trying to get some background for my own thought processes here.
we don't talk to each other, period.
That's probably best.
I agree.
When things get into a situation like that. Well, I guess then, my main concern is, we have had these 6-foot fences come around for a long time on the property line, with rare exceptions, with road changes and excess traffic, they have been unsuccessful. I personally, again, just me, I don't like the compound look that those things put out, and there should be a way to keep animals under control without them. That's my personal feeling on it. Board members,
Mr. Chairman, there's 2 letters in our packet here.
if you have them, could you please read them?
They're quite lengthy.
Oh,
Since our secretary's not here, I could kind of condense them down, if
please.
you don't mind.
No, please.
But they were, this one was date stamp received March 11th, and what it says is that they like the openness of their neighborhood. They're not in favor of the variance, and it's sent by Linda Fontanier, 265 Buckhorn Drive, Lake Orion.
Okay, we'll get to you in a second.
Okay, did I summarize it okay, how you put it in there? Thank you.
I believe she said the same thing with Wendy's meeting, and I respect that 100%.
Then I got
Mr. Flood's got the floor.
one more letter. We want to get this in the record. And then it's date stamp received March 5th. And it's from Wendy Hope. And she has no address on here. And, this is the one I think that
Is this your north neighbor? Okay.
they're just saying that they want the ZBA to be fair, and, let's see, decision made fairly. If you grant the request, then it should be okay with me to do mine. So this must be, maybe this is the lady that was before us before then. Okay. Is this the neighbor that you're in dispute with?
That would be her.
Okay, I don't want to get into that, so I just, she sent the letter in, and it's on file. Made part of the record.
Thank you for noticing them. I did not pick them up out of the envelope.
I don't want to get into this. I know our board doesn't want, we don't have civil matters, we stay away from those.
With that, do we have anybody that came tonight to speak specifically to this matter? Please come up. Gentlemen, will surrender the mic briefly while you come up and have your time.
Hi, I'm Linda Fournier. I live, Brian, and then the neighbor, and then our house is on the corner of Harry Paul and Buckhorn. So from my kitchen, I look into Wendy's backyard. She has not put a wooden fence up there, thank goodness. And we've been there for 40-plus years. So we were there before the advent of a lot of the 6-foot fences that seem to run between Harry Paul and Allen. Just the backyards, a lot of them put 6-foot fences up, I don't know why. When we first moved there, they weren't there. So you had a beautiful view of trees and rolling hills and things. People for children and dogs. It went from farm or country fences to cyclone fences, small ones, which you can see through. So you still had the view. Wendy, who lives behind us, keeps a real nice yard. We've had a quiet but good relationship with her. She keeps the flowers and all the things. We share vegetables and all the normal neighborly things. And I know we noticed when Ryan and them moved in there, I think they rented the house before that. Anyway, it looked nicer, so that was a good thing. I could see through their yard, and they had cleaned up the trees and the things going on there. So it's all good things. I don't know what happened, but there's tension there between the two of them, and we really don't even understand what's happening. So that's happening, and then the fence discussions came. We're here because the fencing feels like it doesn't belong in the neighborhood. We want to be like what we could see. We had an unfortunate incident with the house next to us who asked for a variance when we were out of town. We missed the whole talking part. This is kind of new to us, actually. So they got the fence, and the guy just moved in. He's super nice. They put the 6-foot fence all around their yard, the whole backyard. And we couldn't see down the road anymore, and it was way bigger than we thought it would be. And then they moved. It wasn't even 6 months. Something happened in their life. So we have this thing. He told us it was so that they could keep the dog in that yard and it wouldn't bark, which struck me strong when we came here for Wendy. You all mentioned, I don't remember which one, maybe David. But it was clear that the variances were not going to be given to control animals. Like, you control your own animal. We don't need fences or variances for that, which made me feel good to hear that. Sad that we missed it for our neighbor, because we still have this crazy wall of a fence. We have new neighbors now who don't maintain it. Who's in charge of maintaining it? It looks like a compound. It makes it look like our neighborhood's not safe, a quiet little neighborhood. Why do we need this thing around our yards? And that's next to our house that at some point we would want to move and sell. It would hurt our value. That's our worries. So we're not a fan of the big fences. That's why I'm here. I'm all for fixing the yards and everything. I'm like, everything's good there, just not the fencing. And I don't know what else to do but to come and remind you that's what the city was about. So that's me.
Thanks for
I don't know what the fighting is about. I wish that would end. We can't help it.
As far as I know, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who came to speak to this matter? Seeing none, back up if you would, please. I will just say one thing. If you can think of anything that could help, now's the time, because I can't help you. I can't. A lot of times, like you heard on the first case, well, it'll slow traffic down, I don't see that here, personally. So if you've got it, you're way more intimately involved with it than I am. Please bring it.
Like I said at another point in this, while I was standing here, is it doesn't matter to me if this is a 4 or 6 foot fence. I would prefer it to be a 6 foot fence. I can respect everyone else's wishes. I apologize that I didn't talk to you. I have talked to the other neighbors. I apologize. And I was willing to give them any kind of correction to their fence, any correction to their gating that they wanted to get rid of or correct as well. I understand it's not a great process for everyone to go through sometimes. I get it. I can keep my dogs in my yard another way. I have other options to myself. I'm an engineer by trade. I can create something else that it's not the end of the world. It would have been easier and cheaper. I think that is usually the more attractive thing to go with, but it's not the deal breaker here. So if that is the decision that you guys come to, it doesn't hurt my feelings. But it is what I would have liked.
Board members, correct me, Mr. Goodlow, if he goes 4 feet, we don't have anything to be concerned with. Thank you. Additional from the board for this gentleman. Nothing, I guess we need to vote on this one.
arbor stuff.
So 4 foot's good then, right?
I'm fine with 4 foot. Honestly, I prefer like a green shielding. I prefer to have something that's healthy looking in the yard. The only reason I've removed so much in my yard is because it was all dead. I had to have an arborist come in, identify everything that was dead or not going to survive in time. And I just had to gut it all because there were vines, there were tons of things just suffocating everything there. And I know that isn't easy for Wendy to understand that I'm not killing these to take a stab at her. I'm killing them because they're going to damage my house like they did the first year we bought the house. And we had to replace the roof the first year, not even a full month after we bought the house. We had a tree collapse into the house. So that's why I took that as my vendetta to make sure I was taking out all of that stuff that could damage the house. What I did. So I can plant new stuff. I prefer green shield. I really do. It is much nicer to the area for everyone. A 4 foot doesn't hurt my feelings. I can settle with that. That's perfectly fine.
Well, that's what was kind of brought up, is that if you're going to do a 4 foot, you don't have to be here. Yeah. So, did you want to withdraw your request?
Does that get me $250 back?
That would be a no.
Then I think I'm gonna humor myself and just go for the motion.
Okay, all right, sir. All right. In the matter of ZBA case AB, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman?
No, please.
All right.
Please, please.
In the matter of ZBA case AB 2024-06, Ryan Schultz, 800 Harry Paul, Sidwell 0911379090. I move that the petitioner's request for 4 variances from zoning number 78 R3, Article 20, let's do our math here, Article 27, Section 27.05, H2, number 1, a 10-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 10-foot for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the west. Number 2, a 8-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the property line to the south. Number 3, a 8-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence section to connect from the house ending 0 feet from the property line to the north. And number 4, an 8-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence to be 0 feet from the intersection of the west and north property lines be denied for the plans date stamped received February 1st, 2024, because the petitioner did not demonstrate the following standards for variances have been met in this case. The petitioner did not demonstrate the practical difficulty and based upon the sole reason seeming to be his pets, one particular animal being able to hop the fence. With further discussion, petitioner did discuss the fact that he has alternatives to keeping that particular pet in the animal and contained safely. Number 2, the petitioner did not establish anything unique or exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not apply generally to other properties in the same district or zone. Unfortunately, this was brought as a result of a compliance issue, and as a result of that, the petitioner is now in a situation where he realizes that a 4-foot fence would give him exactly what he needs to have and has agreed to do that, or would like us to rule on this in order that he might do that. The variance is not necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right posed by other properties in the same zone or vicinity, based upon the fact that it's fairly consistent. There is one fence in the area that is 6 foot. Pretty much the rest of the neighborhood has chain link or other 4-foot fences of a panel or board type, and this would have been an anomaly in terms of being a 6-foot fence in around the entire home itself. Number 4. Okay, the granting of the variance or modification will be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, again, based upon the fact of consistency with the neighborhood.
I'll offer support. Do we have any additional discussion from the board? Motion by Mr. Cook, supported by myself. No additional discussion. Please call the roll.
Don Walker,
Yes.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes. Request is denied. You're all set. Now, I would suggest, and again, it's just a suggestion, you're going to put a 4-foot up. If you have any concerns, any questions, what should I do? That gentleman walking right there is the answer to any question you might have. You call him, and get it straight from him. If surrounding people then don't understand it, you still got it straight from the building official. That will be the very best for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, and this is going to take a minute, so please be patient. We have case AB 2024-07, Metro Detroit signs for shops at Lake Orion, 1174 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 09-14-201-027. The leaders will be the same, the last numbers will be different, I assume. We have 1176, no, Sidwell is a 3 number. Are these different addresses?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all,
Okay, here we go. The Sidwell we're dealing with is 1174 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 09-201, 09-14-201-027. Addresses are 1176, 1178, 1180, 1184, 1186, 1188, 1190, 1192, 1194, 1196, 1198, 1202, 1204, 1206, 1208, 1210, 1212, 1214, 1216, 1218, 1220, 1224, 1226, 1228, 1230, 1232, 1234, 1236, and 1244 South Lapeer Road. Sidwell 09-14-201-025 and 1240 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell number 09-14-201-026. The applicant is seeking variances from sign ordinance 153, non-residential ground signs zoned RB. Number 1, a 72 square foot size variance from the allowed 24 square feet for a ground sign to be 96 square feet located at the main entrance. Number 2 is an 11.5 foot road right-of-way setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 8.5 feet from the road right-of-way located at the main entrance. Seeking one variance from zoning ordinance 78, Article 11, Section 11.04, an 11.5 foot front yard setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 8.5 feet from the front property line located at the main entrance. Variances for a third ground sign from sign ordinance 153. Number 4 would be a variance for a third ground sign above the allowed 2 for a total of 3 ground signs. Number 5 is a 40.45 square foot size variance above the allowed 24 square feet for a third ground sign to be 64.45 square feet located north of the main entrance. And number 6 is a 1.92 foot height variance above the allowed 8 foot for a third ground sign to be 9.92 feet tall located north of the main entrance. Please introduce yourself and slowly let us know what you'd like to do and why you need to do it.
Good evening. My name is Paul Dieters. I am with Metro Signs and Lighting, 11444 Colts Avenue in Warren. Excuse me. And so thank you for your consideration this evening, gentlemen. And I'll try to be brief with this. The case before you here is not too far different than the first one you heard this evening. And to be candid, I'm a representative of a fairly new owner to this shopping center. And, you know, it's probably no surprise to any of you that the shopping center is struggling. And it has for a while. And I think part of the difficulty that they're having is the way that center is oriented, is the vast majority of the tenants don't face the road because it runs perpendicular from the road. And what the owner was hoping to do is to be able to get some identification there for a couple of purposes. One, to let people know that there's something going on at the center. You can see they're trying to rebrand it from Marketplace to the shops at Lake Orion. Now, they realize here that the intent of adding this is to say there's a lot going on in there. A lot of people have no idea how many different spaces there are back there because it's difficult to see them from the road, and you really don't know what's there until you turn into the center. So the owner would like to be able to provide an opportunity for the tenants there to have their name along Lapeer Road to enable them to identify themselves as participating in this. So he's made a commitment to invest significantly in the property. Hopefully you've noticed that. An entire new roof structure and facade. They've completely redone the parking lot. And he'd just like for the tenants to have an opportunity to be identified. You know, similar to the other place too is, yeah, people are going fast along there. There's a lot going on. Having something that would brand this development as the shops at Lake Orion, a very nice, tasteful, modern-looking sign, which is a significant upgrade from what's there right now, I think would be very stylish and would be an addition to the community. And the other thing is that we're trying to keep this as understated as we can. You can see none of the proposed tenant panels are very large. You know, in most cases, we're talking about 4 or so inch high copy for each of these things, just to give them an ability to market themselves out along that storefront or that roadway. And one thing I would ask you to consider too, and it was unbeknownst to the owner, and we didn't find this out until very recently, is the way the development is oriented. There's 3 different parcels there. The McLaren sign is only a few years old, which is next to this. After we applied for this, and unbeknownst to the owner as well, that McLaren sign, which is on the parcel next door, counts as the sign, even though one of the ones that we're proposing has been there for years and years and years. And so we're trying, that sort of threw some complications into the matter. And if I might, just, because I don't think it's in my packet, but may I show this to the
Please.
board here? You can see off to the left in the photo there is the ground sign for the McLaren Medical Facility property. That sign, we thought when we were coming in that we were going to apply. It was our understanding when we were going to be applying for this is that we were applying to modify the existing sign in its place a little bit, keep it the same height, put a couple more tenants in, and add a second sign. We came to find out that that sign is considered a part of this property too, so now we have a non-conforming sign, means we're really asking for signs 2 and 3, which was unbeknownst to the owner, to be candid. He wasn't aware of this. And it's sort of strange because that McLaren sign, all of the parking goes to a different place, all of the traffic goes to the side. It's almost completely separate or disparate from this property. And as you can see is in the overhead, and thank you, sir, for putting that up, that people would come in and go off to the left. You see the blue McLaren sign on the left side of the island, and everybody heads off that way when they go to McLaren. The signs that we're proposing is one of them where the existing one is in the island right there where the green cursor is, thank you. And then the other one we were going to put down farther to the right here so that it would have some separation from the existing piece. So it's really a complicated circumstance. The long and the short of it is we have somebody that's really hoping to help some tenants out, to get some identification. And I think you could see we have a really sharp, nice-looking, attractive sign. The other thing that we'd say is somewhat unique, in terms of whether we created these circumstances, and I'm sure you gentlemen see it every month here, the retail landscape is changing. When those centers were built, people leased 15, 20,000 square feet of space. Now, he's adding HVAC units, doors, entrances, all kinds of electrical panels, and splitting these places, because the fact of the matter is now you're getting 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, if you're lucky, for tenant spaces. And it really is proven to be a challenge for owners like this to make spaces like these viable. And so one of them is that's really important for his customers there and tenants, is to try to have some identification along the main road. People love the fact that it's on Lapeer Road, but if the building sits perpendicular to them, that really doesn't do them any good if you don't know that they're there. So that's in a nutshell what we're hoping to achieve this evening.
Is that sign in a different sidewalk? How can that sign be?
There's 3 different parcels that split it,
Okay.
but it's all part of one site plan, I believe.
It's a really strange circumstance, yeah.
So it's all part of one site plan, but it's 3
Even though it's
parcels.
not, it's in front of the McLaren building, but it's all considered part of the same parcel.
Because it's one site, I believe. And I would have to confer with the gentleman, petitioner. I've seen, since I've been in here for 7 years, I've seen many businesses come in here and leave in a matter of months. So I do think, obviously, in my opinion, exercise would help these businesses succeed. A lot of times people don't even know they're there when these businesses pop up. We get one temporary sign, and we try to work with them, to get one temporary sign put out on the street, so, I think this could be beneficial.
Is the ownership of the entire piece, the McLaren building and everything else, is that under what you're requesting tonight? Is it all the same owner?
Yeah, the owner of the center is a gentleman in California. He's a private investor.
I'm just trying to figure out how big that piece is.
So the center is,
I mean, the retail spaces,
well,
the big piece.
the big piece is 2.5 to 3 times what the size of the McLaren Center is off to the left. Because you look at it, it goes all the way from Lapeer Road back a couple hundred feet and then turns in an L-shaped configuration. Oh, thank you, sir. That's a help there if it puts it into perspective there. The relative square footage between the two, but it's an enormous difference.
You're not having to ask for a sign for somebody else's property.
Well, no, but what happened is, unbeknownst to us, is somebody else's sign is counting towards our property. That was sort of what the curveball that we were thrown here, that the owner, he said, what do you mean? My sign's been there in that island for years and years and years. And he was not aware of this either till it just came up and in fact, I don't think when we first appealed, Lynn wasn't sure of this either. And it just came up really almost at the 11th hour. It said, hey, you know what? Actually, you guys aren't applying for 2 signs. It's 3 because the McLaren is already part of this development. That was really something that really threw us all for a loss.
Yes, and one thing that happened when they took down that sign in the middle, it made McLaren sign the governing sign, and you're only supposed to be 75% of that sign, so it was a trickle-down effect down the line. If they got rid of the one sign, made that sign relevant, and then they can only be 75% of that, which you saw the size of that sign, so that's why you see some of these variances.
That explains, now that makes it more clear for me on the one sign that got tore down, and then you got the littler sign that you're gonna go by now.
Yeah, so that set the precedent for the size. So, as you can see, it is a
been a strange meeting today is all I'm going to say. It's not been an average meeting.
I'm not going to argue with you there.
I mean, if that mall was turned 90 degrees, I mean, there'd be no issue here at all, because all of the frontage would be so big that you could have whatever kind of sign you wanted, pretty much. But because it's on its side, we have the sign ordinance to deal with. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and what I'm seeing with this development is or they actually are subdividing some of these units in smaller. They actually had to issue more adjustments for some of the issues, some of the tenants in here. So, yeah, there has been significant improvement in this development. in recent years.
Question for the applicant. So you still want 3 signs? The McLaren sign stays, and you want 3 additional ground signs?
No, the McLaren sign would stay as is. We would, just like the 2 signs that we have proposed here. There are 2 in the drawings, but unbeknownst to us, the McLaren sign has to be part of this package
Right,
now.
yeah, I
Yeah, that's
understand.
what it is, yes.
I didn't understand it, but now I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr.
So the investor does not own the McLaren building? Or does he own the McLaren building?
He does.
Okay.
He
That's
owns
why this all comes together. Okay.
He owns the whole thing, but he understood that that was a different parcel. He didn't think that, even though he owns, that he thought he's at 3 different parcels, but the signage and the development, and maybe it was part of the site plan approval process, and forgive me, that preceded my understanding of the cases, that it was all viewed as one development initially.
You probably don't know this, but he probably had 1 closing, not 2. When he settled on this. Yeah. So, okay. You may not know the answer.
I don't know the answer to
And
that.
if you do, don't tell me. So, okay. Now, it makes more sense now. Okay. So, Chatty Cathy.
Please, please.
When you talk about the new signs themselves, very nicely done. Yep, okay. I know for a fact, this place, there's one restaurant in there that in the last 20 years has had 3 different names, the Faux Street soup place. It's been a couple of different, they have good food, but they've just changed the name so many times. So this sign here, the black and white one, there would be 2 of these on the property, is that correct?
Yes, sir. One of them has the vertical orientation
Yes,
that you
sir.
look there,
Mhm.
which is be more so in the center of the lot, if you will, of the
Yep,
space.
where the original was, uh-huh.
And the horizontally oriented one, which is fairly similar to the existing sign that's sitting there right now,
Mhm.
would go in the exact same spot,
Right.
one has 10 tenants, the other has 8 tenants.
Okay,
And they're separate tenants on each one. There are about, well, right now, there are about 20 spaces total in there, but just from a practical standpoint, he knows we can't get all of them on there. It's just, and, we're trying to stay within the spirit of your ordinance and trying to, how do we minimize this to the degree that we can? Something that's legible, that's gonna look nice still, and be able to serve that.
My next question for you, sir, just relates to placement, because when you look at where you're putting the 3rd sign, as opposed to moving it, you're kind of south. Had you considered moving more north?
We're actually looking at that now too, is because partially from the landscaping, the majority of the traffic comes in at the southern entrance, but I somewhat agree with you. I think there's an argument that can be made that if that were moved farther north, and that is a viable ingress there, it creates a little bit more separation, and if the board would like to see that, the owner would absolutely be willing to do that. Part of the concern was that the electrical service is already located towards the south end. If it meant an extra 100 or 50 feet of trenching or something to get power to to that opposite end, we would absolutely do that.
Well, it's just me from the standpoint of, I drove it a couple times and I counted the spaces where the sign would be. It's the fifth parking space from the south as you go, you count 5 spaces north. And I imagined it being there, and if I was looking for something, I probably would have passed, because you get that first entrance, then you see it, and then you're like, okay, I got one more place to go in. If you remember the first case, they have one entrance, which is why people end up doing a U-turn. You have 2 shots at it. So that's just, from a consumer standpoint, I realize it's a cost, but I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm saying
No, no,
consider it.
I tend to agree with you. I think that makes more sense, too.
Would it make a difference on the setbacks in that area? That may not be the.
To tell you the truth, sir, there's more of an opportunity, and part of the reason we went to where we were was, that was the first place, because of the parcel and line sort of tapers a little bit. The farther north we go, the more of an ability we have to meet the required setback. So we could do that and satisfy the setback even better at the northern end.
Even though that north entrance is more of an exit, I exited that way too, but it makes more sense to exit that way almost than to enter that way because of the configuration of that.
A little bit, I think that was part of the concern.
Right.
But the other thing is that we're debating with the owner. I do think too is, if the 2 signs are complementary to one another and have the same theme of the type of design, that almost acts as a marker for someone, because they begin to identify the center with this type of signage. So even if they happen to pass that, there's still an opportunity to get in, because almost all the traffic there is coming from southbound, because they have to turn around anyway. So I think it would still suitably serve its purpose there.
Going back to whether or not to move the McLaren sign, the only thing you can be guaranteed of is if you do not molest it, you do not need another variance of any type. I mean, tonight you have to get it to get your third, but if you decide at some point to move it again, is it going to cause you to have to do something different? I don't know.
Well, you know what, I'll tell you, for stability purposes for the owner, he loves having McLaren there. It's a nice looking building, they've got nice identification there. They face the road, so he's not worried about that. His difficulty now is for all of the retail tenants that are facing south that can't.
I understand that, and sympathize with it, I do. Do we have anybody out there that came to speak to this tonight? Thank you.
Once again, I like how you put your property numbers on there, your address numbers on there, 'cause that makes a big difference. Especially today's, when you're putting in your Google, GPS, yeah. I want to say Google.
Google, yeah, whatever.
Kind of course, I was looking for a medical facility today, and it wasn't out by the road. I had to actually drive in take the wife there, and go up to the entrance, and it was on the glass. I'm on Woodward Avenue, and you ain't gonna see that from there. You got a sign out front without an address on it. That's one of my pet peeves.
Anything additional for this gentleman? I have nothing.
Nobody wants to make the motion because they don't have to read this over again.
We appreciate your efforts.
I think I got one like that one time.
Just reading the titles wears you out.
All right. In the matter of ZBA case AB 202407, Metro Detroit signs for shops at Lake Orion, 17 check, 1174 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 0914201-027. 1176, 1178, 1180, 1184, 1186, 1188, 1190, 1192, 1194, 1196, 1198, 1202, 1204, 1206, 1208, 1210, 1212, 1214, 1216, 1218, 1220, 1224, 1226, 1228, 1230, 1232, 1234, 1236, and 1244 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 0914201-025, and 1240 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 0914201-026. I move the petitioner's request for 5 variances from sign ordinance number 153, non-residential ground signs, and 1 variance for zoning ordinance number 78, zoned RB. Number 1, a 72 square foot size variance above the allowed 24 square feet for a ground sign to be 96 square feet located at the main entrance. Number 2, an 11.5 road right-of-way setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 8.5 feet from the road right-of-way located at the main entrance. Number 3, an 11.5 front yard setback variance from the required 20 feet for a ground sign to be 8.5 feet from the front property line located at the main entrance. Number 4, a variance to allow for a 3rd ground sign above the 2 allowed for a total of 3 ground signs. Number 5, a 40 to 45 square foot size variance above the 24 square foot for a 3rd ground sign to be 64 to 45 square feet located north of the main entrance. And number 6, a 1.95 height variance above the allowed 8 feet for a 3rd ground sign to be 9.92 feet tall located north of the main entrance be granted for plans received, let's try this in English now. Be granted for plans date stamped received February 6, 2024, because the petitioner did demonstrate the following standards for variances have been met in the case in that they set forth facts which show the following in this case. Number 1, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulty, that being that, again, it's Lapeer Road. Most of the traffic is going to be at 55 miles per hour. It's also a unique shape to this particular parcel and the orientation of the building itself. Number 2, the following are exceptional or ordinary extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district. And that is that when this original site plan was put together, 3 separate parcels and the signage itself on each parcel affects the total sum, and so this is a reason for the need for the 3rd sign. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other properties in the same zone or vicinity based upon the fact, again, that we're on Lapeer Road. Most folks are going by this property in particular over the past at least 20-odd years has had multiple tenants who've suffered from not having a lot of signage. At one point, there was a Buffalo Wild Wing in this particular complex, and their signage was pretty prominent. They eventually did move out specifically because it was a difficult place for some of their customers to find, which supports what this current owner is attempting to do and requesting the 3rd sign in order that the tenants within this particular complex can be identified more easily. The granting of the variance or modification will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, again, based upon the fact that these are folks who are trying to make a go of it in an economy that is going away from brick and mortar. And so to make it easier for their clients to find them when they are seeking them out is that much more, is the township and working with owners and of the property as well as owners of those businesses to encourage them to flourish.
Mr. Chair, I will support Mr. Cook's motion with the discussion.
Please.
I hate to be the one to put any kind of mud on this, but my concern is on variance request number 2, the 11.5-foot road right-of-way setback. I don't think we had any discussion about whether that would be, there would be any kind of a site issue on that. And I can't tell from the drawings whether there would be. I don't think there would be, but I want to make sure we don't have a sign somehow blocking traffic going by giving them the variance on the right-of-way. Just if we could clarify that. And if we clarify that, I'll be happy to support the motion.
Ron, sir.
It's an excellent point, sir. But I would say too, is that even if we're to take the, let's say, call it the sign that's the north end now and move it farther north, it's still going to be, the majority of the traffic is going to be off to if somebody were to enter or exit that facility, the traffic is off to the right, the sign would be, south of everybody heading out of there. So the people are looking to the left for, because the road is divided there, people are only looking for traffic coming from one way. They're looking this way and the sign will be off to here. So I don't believe that will be a concern.
You're comfortable with that?
I am,
Mr. Bigelow?
yeah.
Okay,
so
then,
with where that right away.
all right, and I support your
Well,
motion.
no, that brings up another question. So where the original sign was, this new sign will go in that same footprint?
Absolutely. The new one will be in the exact same.
And the third sign that you're requesting will be in line with that sign, correct? Okay.
I'm happy now.
I have a clarification too on there's a typo on our sheet on the variances on number 5. It says 40-45
Right.
and 64. I went through the documents here, and that's a 40.45 square foot size variance above the allowed 24 square feet for a third ground side to be 64.45 square feet located north of the main entrance. I just want to clarify that.
No, I'll accept that, because when I was reading it, it did make a lot of sense, but I figured.
And I went and saw the right.
Motion maker amends his motion, I'll amend my support.
Okay. So done.
Move on.
Anything additional? Seeing none. We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Cook with support and that has been offered by Mr. Walker and Mr. Flood. Anything additional? Seeing none. Please call the roll.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Tom Walker,
Yes.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Yes. Request passes. You're on your way.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
And there's no charge for the Zoom call either.
Okay. Next case. We have AB 2024-08, Carmen Nunn at vacant parcel on the northwest corner of Orion Terrace and Detroit Boulevard North. Sidwell 09-01-408-019. Applicant is seeking 2 variances from zoning ordinance 78, R3, Article 6, Section 6.04. Number 1, an 18-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a home with an attached garage 12 feet from the property line east to Detroit Boulevard. And number 2 is a 2-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 35 feet to build a home 33 feet from the rear property line. Please introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do.
Good evening. My name is Carmen Nunn, and I own the property, or two lots, 16 and 17, on Detroit and Orient Terrace.
Could you tip the mic just a little? You're kind of soft-voiced.
Sorry.
That's
Can
okay.
you hear me now?
That's a good thing. Yes, ma'am.
So I downsized after my kids graduated from Lake Orion High School, so I've been in the community over 20 years now, and downsized and purchased this lot with the plan to build in 2019. And I had a 2-year plan, but of course COVID hit and sort of delayed things on and on and on, so I'm back again. This plan was previously approved. I can't remember the year, I think it was 2004, 2014. So I did purchase it with the plans and plan on using those plans that were approved prior. The change, one change was to accommodate a garage on this side. The original plans have the garage coming off of Orient Terrace. I'm wanting to put the garage on the side of Detroit, so the garage would come off Detroit. It would eliminate a U-turn. I would have to U-turn and then turn on Orient Terrace. So it would just be a straight into the garage off of the Detroit side. The other variants, the frontage and the rear, were approved previously. So my plan is to put a 2-story home. It's a little less than 1,500 square feet. It would be 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths, and that would be my permanent residence.
As I've said so many times, I applaud your vision because I look at that piece of ground and I look at what you want to do with it. So she must know or she wouldn't be trying.
Yeah. Luckily, I mean, the owner was super nice. She had already mapped it out and already had the plans in place. She just changed her mind and moved on. So I am planning to go forward with her plan. She used space really, really well. I want a small house, so it works perfect for me.
Now, they were granted a variance back when.
I think it's in, I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah,
it is
documentation
attached to,
Okay.
yeah, it's been a while. She held on to it for a while. She was a realtor and ended up not going forward, but I still have the plans and have reviewed them with a builder, and the plans are good, and we could build on that location.
Thank you. Board members. While they're thinking it over, we do have one, and maybe you can speak to this. We do have one letter that came through from a neighbor. It is a Jackie Ballard at 25 Detroit. Says, hi there, I have a concern about where the driveway will be placed for this home going to be built at Orient Terrace and Detroit Boulevard. I live at 25 Detroit, directly across from where the house will be built, and people already constantly drive all over my yard. The road is not as large as it is made to sound. You can't fit 2 cars down the road at the same time. I would probably agree with that. When they build the home, where will all the supplies be at? Are we still going to have access to our road? I would certainly believe that would be the case. You would. Would love to know the answers to all these questions, so we're bringing it forth. Can you help us with this?
I'm aware of the narrow road. I was just thinking in terms of safety to not have to make a U-turn every time I, came into the house. Sorry if you can't hear me, but I'm fine with the original plan too, and having the garage, if it is a major concern or if it's a major safety issue, I'm fine letting it remain on the front off Orient Terrace. It would just be a convenience for me. The other issue was that I would love to have a first floor master, so that was one way to get that, to eliminate me having the stairs forever and ever, and having that option to have that first floor, taking the old garage space, converting that into a master bedroom, and then having that garage.
Well, there's no bad guys here. I mean, this is just a neighbor asking a question. In your mind, do you think it'd be an issue?
I don't think it would be an issue for me, from my standpoint. I think being able to just turn right in and not having to U-turn and do a, you know, sort of a three-quarter turn to turn around and go into the, so I feel like safety-wise, I think it would be okay. In terms of equipment when they're building, I would think that there's enough space for them to build and move off the side of the road and build without being a hazard.
Be hiring a contractor.
Correct.
They understand their responsibility and things like that.
Yes.
Thank you. Board members.
Ms. Nunn, Mrs. Nunn, the plans that, I saw the facade of the original. So it's at home, you're just taking the garage from the front, and then it would be on the side. Do you know, it says it's 12 feet from, so would that be kind of the driveway portion? That's,
That would, the
car
garage
warden-
would jet out a little, and then, yes, the driveway would be there.
okay, so just to be sure clear on the length of that driveway, do you know that?
That I don't. I mean, I would imagine it would be 12 feet from.
On
from
the exterior?
From the exterior of the garage, yes.
That's what I was concerned about.
This is a quarter lot, so you have two front yards, one along Orient Terrace and one along Detroit Boulevard. We get with these corner lots. And I noticed when the first approval, go back to 79 here. The Planning and Zoning Department gave us a great write-up here from Lynn Harrison, our Planning and Zoning Specialist. Is that in 2003, there was a 14.4-foot deviation from the property line along Detroit Boulevard, below the house. That was approved at that time. And that's still on the record, because those variances go with the land. So this one here, now you're asking for an 18-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a home on Detroit Boulevard. So that's, to me, if I'm doing this right, Mr. Goodlow, is that'd be like, what, 3.6 feet variance above the 14.4?
Oh, I didn't do the math.
I'm just doing it real fast in my head here, but that's why I deflected it to you, the expert.
I have a question real quick, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I see you got the garage out there. Do you plan on still entering off of Harry Paul, or would you go off the street? Or Orient Terrace?
Harry Paul was.
Well, for me,
So-
the door would be in the garage, and I'd be coming, but my guests, I guess, would be, have a sidewalk and go to the front. Yeah, no, I would enter from that garage. That would be the plan. There would only need to be a sidewalk to accommodate guests.
That's, so where it says driveway on Orient Terrace there, that
That
would not be there?
would not be there.
Okay, so that's what was.
That's- Yeah.
Those two on Lynn's documents here, the lot coverage is well within the ordinance, so. And the 2 foot on the rear,
Do we have anybody out there that came to speak to this tonight? No? Oh, come on up, if you did. This young lady will surrender the mic briefly.
Good evening. My name is Susan Rapp, and I live off of Schramm Court, which is connected to Orient Terrace. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I was just curious to see what was happening and the positioning of the house as it is. I do know Jackie, who wrote the letter to you, and I can say that having driven down that private road many times in my past 27 years of living there, that I think that putting the garage on Detroit Boulevard, entering off of Detroit Boulevard, is a much better plan than having that main driveway coming off of Orient Terrace, because it is a very narrow area in that location.
Thank you. I don't disagree.
You say something tonight? Is that
No,
what you want?
I
You're
just-
looking at me like I haven't said a thing all night
I want you
long?
to offer you the opportunity. That's it.
Mr. Walker, while you're getting your thoughts apart there, I got one more comment. Go ahead, sir. When you look at
Don't
the,
interrupt me then.
no, I won't, but looking at the schematic there, you'll see that the property is narrow at the front and it goes further. It's like a wedge, a pie wedge. That's kind of difficult too, on that Orient Terrace.
Probably why it stayed vacant as long as it has, in part.
Part of the difficulty.
Are you done now?
Trying to give you more fuel for your fire.
I'm trying to get my mind going. At my age, it's harder to get it going. Mr. Chair? Mr. Walker. In the matter of ZBA case AB 202408, Carmen Nunn, vacant parcel on northwest corner of Orient Terrace and Detroit Boulevard North, Sidwell 09101408019. I move that the petitioner's request for two variances from zoning ordinance 78 zoned R3, Article 6, Section 6041, an 18-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a home with an attached garage 12 feet from the property line to the east on Detroit Boulevard, and two, a 2-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 35-foot to build a home 33 feet from the rear property line be granted. The dates for plans date stamped received August 14th, 2023. Petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in this case, and that they set forth facts which show that in this case, the petitioner does show practical difficulty due to the uniqueness of the property and the unique shape. It's an oddly shaped parcel, a very small parcel, and that normally I would not ever vote to have a variance extended that we had already approved a variance on, even if it was all those years ago. But with the petitioner's request, it seems to almost make the last variance less of a variance in the first place. And with the information given by the petitioner and also by the neighbor, that putting the driveway on the Detroit Boulevard side is a vast improvement over what was proposed in the original variance in 2003. I was a young man back then. In any event, this variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right proposed by other property in the same zone, and therefore, I ask that petitioner's request be granted.
Support.
I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Walker with a support by Mr. Flood. Do we have anything additional by the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
John Walker,
Yes.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Dan Barron.
Yes, you're all set.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
And Mr. May I say, you're a wise person planning about those stairs. Let me tell you about those stairs. You're way ahead of the game. You're way ahead of the game. It's gonna come.
I know, my dad was like, you're not gonna want to do that forever.
Right.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming out tonight.
Young man, thank you for your service.
Yes.
All right.
Next step,
Okay.
next step, public service. It appears public service, public comment. It's getting late. Public comment, it appears we're out of public, so we're good. Communications, education, anybody have anything? I have nothing. Committee reports, library talk, anything?
I'm talked out now.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
Make a motion.
Member comments, gentlemen?
I see we have one applicant right now for the next board meeting, so.
It's gonna be that bad?
No.
You're ducking on purpose?
Good for you.
In Florida with
Ditto
Mike?
for me on the vacation thing,
Oh, next
So,
meeting you won't be here either?
25th of March.
Okay.
What's, what?
We're not going together. So,
No, not, what's on the agenda? What's the? But it seems like, oh my God, it's only, they wanted. I know, but is it just because because they're in a hurry? I get, my spidey senses tingle at that, that's all.
The only thing I have in it is essentially, just as always, thank you for the board, to the board, for the strength of the board to get these things done. The one case tonight was a little bit tight, but we managed to push through, get it done anyway. Motion adjourned.
The other three were difficult, but somehow good. They were
Yeah.
almost pleasant.
So moved.
yes.
Motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're finished, thank you.
Stop milking the clock, right?